Welcome to Beyond Transcendence with Andrew. In today's episode, I'm joined by Andreas, who takes us on a truly inspiring journey from overcoming challenges of a difficult childhood to embracing the transformative power of yoga and spirituality. Together, we delve into the trials and triumphs of starting a spiritual inspired business, the deep connection between trauma and personal growth, and the essential role community plays in our transformation. You'll also hear us explore the ego's purpose, the importance of self-investment, and how trusting your intuition can guide you to your higher self. Get ready for an enlightening and heartfelt conversation that's sure to leave you with wisdom and inspiration for your own journey. Please welcome Andreas Anthony. Welcome to my show, Andreas.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
So tell me about your journey. What brought you to spirituality?
Yeah, that's a long story, and I'll make sure I make it as efficient as possible. But I think what brought me to spirituality was as a teenager, I was bullied a lot, overweight gay guy. So I just received a lot of targeting and I was very unhappy in myself. And, we're talking about when I was about 14 years old or 13 years old, something like that. And I actually found yoga, and that was a way for me to move my body and to try and start to feel good in my body. And what really grew from that was more around the spiritual side of yoga. I found that, yes, I was enjoying the flexibility and the increased strength, and I was enjoying the breath work and things like that. But it was the deeper aspects of the spiritual connection that was growing within me from the yogic practice that kept me going. And that sort of became the catalyst for like an interest in the spiritual world. And then I don't know if you know of this particular channeler, but she's an Aussie channeler, so that's why I don't know if you know. Her name's Blossom Goodchild. Have you heard
I'm
of
not
her?
familiar, but she sounds like a nice lady.
That's her real name, by the way. That's not like some made up spirit name. That's her legitimate real name.
Love it.
Yeah, it's pretty synchronistic. But she was like one of the first psychic channelers to start to broadcast her work over the internet back in like 2006 or something like that. And she had this big prediction and all of this stuff, and it was a whole thing. And long story short, that was the keystone to my like cosmic awakening was her and her work. Yeah, ever since then, I've just felt really connected to my soul, and I'm in my early 30s now, and basically my whole spiritual journey then is just since a teenager has been increasingly being more and more connected to my true self, and putting that into my work as much as I possibly can in this physical form.
Love it. So what were some of the challenges you found when you found starting your business? What were the key aspects that drove you to this business, but also what were the struggles that you had to deal with?
Yeah, so I've been in spiritually informed business for around about 5 years now, give or take, because like many spiritual businesses, entrepreneurs, healers, practitioners, facilitators, what have you, often things start off as like a side hobby around your normal 9 to 5, which is certainly how it started for me, and which was a good thing because it sort of gradually built me into the world of business mechanics and entrepreneurialism and all of those things. And I think for me, there's been multiple challenges along the way, but one of the biggest ones was buying into what I was offering, as in believing that I actually did have something to value to offer to people, and that my healing work was um, genuinely supportive. That sort of thing you build up over time, because the more and more people that you work with, the more and more feedback that you receive, the more you actually get that sort of that social validation, so to speak, or that sense of like this is real, this is legitimate. And I wish I could sit here and say, oh, and now for the last 3 years I've just been sailing through and it's just all been love and light, but that's not true. Like being head deep first in spiritual work, as I'm sure even from just doing this podcast alone, you would know, like it brings up your stuff. And it does so in the right way because you become a mirror, or your business becomes a mirror to you and your energetics that are playing out in your own psyche and your own world. So I would say that was one of the biggest challenges for me, but I think there's another important challenge that I'd love to speak to as well. But before I do that, just in case no one, like, what is my business? Maybe that's an important thing to contextualize this entire conversation. So my business is predominantly in psychic work, so psychic channeling work. So not so much in the mediumship space, but more in the spirit guide realm, in the angelic realm, spiritual team, higher self. So that's one key pillar of my business. And then the other key pillar is tantric work for LGBTQ plus men. I do a lot in the sacred sexuality arts and embodiment healing. So it's very much like crown and above and root chakra and below and spanning that entire spectrum. Yeah, so I think that's been that first piece I spoke to was a huge challenge for me. But the other challenge for me was not getting lost in business mechanics, because it can be really, really easy to start thinking about business in the way that the world has done so for a long time. And we're in the age of Aquarius. We are redefining what business means, and we are redefining how we show up to business. And that can be really destabilizing for entrepreneurs, especially new ones, because you come in and you're like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I have a thing that I want to give to people. I'm a Reiki master, and I want to bring that to people. I don't know how to support myself. I want to keep a roof over my head. Like, how do I bring what sits in my heart and in my work into the full three-dimensional world around me, and do so in a way that keeps me safe and secure? And because of that, it can, at least for me, it can bring up a lot of like fear-based kind of like pulling at the environments around you to try and find those answers. So just a classic example is just doing it like everyone else does it. And, oh, this is how this random guy who sells a lot of successfully big money things does it, and he says to do it this way. So I'm going to try it this way. And so there was a lot of that. There's been a lot of that sort of like almost business guru vibe stuff. And what I've realized more and more is that the more that I work on my own vibration, and this might even sound like a cliche, but the more that I work on my own vibration, the more that I work on my own nourishment, the more that I invest money and time into myself, into my self-care. Yeah, girl, I'm getting that massage. Yeah, I'm booking that $2,000 course because I need to invest in my self-growth, right? So the more that I've done that and worked on my joy, my happiness, my stability, my inner sense of peace, the rest just flows. And it flows naturally out of you, and you make better choices. You make more aligned choices. You accept support from these people that you might be investing into, people that are a little bit further along the journey, perhaps. So I found that, like, when I've backed me, the universe has backed me. But when I've expected the universe to back me and I haven't been backing me myself with my own tangible action, it's just fallen to pieces. And I've been scrambling and I've been freaking out. So that's been a really tough lesson as well.
Yeah, what I'm learning, as you say, to invest in yourself, I invested in myself too. I got myself a life coach, and what my life coach is like teaching me about the law of assumption and how we assume things and we can create our own realities. So I learned to meditate more, and like even before we did this podcast, I visualized us doing the podcast and I saw your face and everything. It was quite fascinating to see like what the mind does. So now I promote content because of that, and I just kind of like coach people, but really I'm not coaching people. I'm just giving them tips and tools for like their 9 to 5 jobs and how like everyone is stressed and everything. So I've just been using that form of self-care that you were talking about, and the investment as well. So I feel you. And the more you invest in yourself, the more it's almost like a genius mindset you get into, because you're investing in yourself and you're picking up all these new tools, all these new skills. When it turns out, like, you look back at your past life, those were also teaching you new skills, new tools for life, and what not to do and what to do. And it's amazing, when we look back at our lives and just see like the lessons that were placed in front of us, but we didn't pay attention of it because our trauma, because I had trauma as well, and our anxiety blocked us from experience that lesson. So it's cool. I think it's amazing that you've found something that spiritually works for you, and it's something that you turned from a hobby into a business. So that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It's and it continues to be terrifying, in the best way. And that law of assumption piece, I just would love to come back to that because, you were speaking to the trauma aspect, and what I find so fascinating, and I'm curious what your take on this is too, but when we do have those traumas running through us, which are affecting our kind of like, I guess you could say status quo decision making or our just default behavioral patterning, well, that law of assumption is in full effect because we're not opening our awareness to something that could be new or to something that could be even possible. We're just running the same show from the vibrational, like anchored point we're sitting at. So sometimes you know what, I'm going to say almost always, it takes somebody, whether it be a therapist, a friend, a life coach, a mentor, what have you, it takes somebody to almost like pull us out of that, to be like, hey, I'm here to specifically support you because we have agreed that we mutually want to do this and we mutually benefit from doing this arrangement. And it's almost like, what I'm seeing in my third eye right now is like I'm seeing like a hand coming down and just pulling you out a little bit from the mud, just like pulling you out. And yeah, sure, we can, if we fall in the mud, we can be strong, independent people and we can dust it off ourselves and I don't need nobody and I'm going to do it just me and God, and we can do that. But wouldn't it be nicer if someone just helped us out?
Totally. No, I totally get what you're saying because I've learned that my trauma, I created all of my trauma. And now that you learn about the law of assumption and how I assumed I was going to get beat up, well, I got beat up every day. I assumed I was going to fail that test. I failed every test, and that created test anxiety. That created anxiety. And I used to struggle going out in public because I'd be so overwhelmed because there'd be so many people. And now, with all the tricks and tools that I've learned and learned more about myself, I no longer have anxiety. I no longer worry about what others think. And I just kind of live my life day to day as it's a video game. And I'm just leveling up each day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a great way to see it. Hey, a lot of my social media handles are awake in the game. So I really love that you've just brought in the video game analogy because my spirit guides often utilize that analogy for me too, because I think when we see life as a game, it it helps us to take it less seriously. And that's how our soul takes it, from my perspective. That's our soul doesn't take it seriously. Our egoic mind aspect takes it seriously because it's so attached. But our soul is just like, hey, like, you're here to play. There is no other reason for being here other than to play and to experience. And yeah, sometimes that is serious business, like raising the frequency of an entire planet. Maybe that is the business of your soul here on this earth right now. And yet, your soul isn't that serious about it. Your soul's just like, hey, you don't have to be on the earth right now. You could be anywhere else, but your soul fragment chose to come here. So you're here for a reason. You're here to have fun. You're here to experience. You're here to be challenged. You're here to grow. You're here to learn. You're here to experience emotions in all of the spectrum, right? And yeah, I love the video game analogy, but I have to say, when I first, and it wasn't my guides that kind of were the first thing to bring it through to me. It was some other practitioner that I heard it from. My egoic self was so offended, like, what are you saying? That my life means nothing? That this is just all for nothing and this is all a big game? How dare you belittle my existence to such a degree? But of course the ego wants to do that because the ego thinks it's holier than thou. It wants to be right. It wants to be the center of the world and your universe. So I find though when we come more to our soul self, the ego just melts into it. It's just like, oh, thank God someone's going to hold me. I don't have to do it myself anymore. I can just lean back into the presence of my soul.
I love it. Yeah, no, there's still a part of me that's egoic mind, and I catch myself now and then. But I also learn now to catch myself. So when I start to daydream or I start to think limiting beliefs or those old thoughts pop into my head, I shut them down right away, and I just kind of learn to work with my mind, work with my body, and it's fascinating, like what our mind can do and what synchronicities lie for me. I mean, if I hadn't have started this podcast, I never would have got a life coach and I never would have met you. So it's like, it's amazing when you like step out of your day-to-day life and switch it and totally 360 it and start this podcast and start becoming a quantum healing hypnotherapist and trying to be a life coach and putting out content every day. Like I never seen myself ever doing that in my life. And here I am because I switched and I let that other side of me die. And since I've allowing that part of me to die, life seems so much easier and more understandable and nothing to really be afraid of. I mean, there's old parts of me that still fear things, but for the most part, it's wonderful just to be knowing that there's no hell, there's nothing that you have to be afraid of. Like fear was instilled in our mind and it's all an illusion. Like this entire thing is an illusion. And it's amazing because my coach is also like, we're in a simulation. Like you don't need to fear anything or feel anxiety. You are limitless. You can create anything you want. Nothing from your past can touch or harm you. You are living the best version of yourself right now. And he's like, say that 5 times. And then he gets you to write like a 7-day, like grateful, like be grateful for set. Imagine coming up with 500 things to be grateful. It's hard, but
Wow.
yeah, he gets you to write
500
five,
things.
yeah, 500 things to be grateful for.
That's a pretty powerful practice. I have never done 500 things on my gratitude thing. I do 5 on a just 5.
Yeah, no, he gets you to do like, so the first day is like day one. So it's 10 in the morning, 10 at night. Next day, 20 in the morning, 20 at night. And it goes all the way to 70 for your
Wow.
7 days. Yeah. And you have to do it day in and night. So
It's
it's very powerful.
Yeah, and it speaks to your seeding your vibration with that gratitude, and that's why it's so powerful in my perspective, is because it's very hard to be low vibration when you're in the space of gratitude. It's just a shortcut, right? Because in order to be in true gratitude, you have to start to match the energy of the thing that you are grateful for. So if you're grateful for your pet cat, like, oh my gosh, well, you start thinking about how cute it is and how much you love your cat, and then it lifts your frequency. So that is such a powerful practice because, gosh, if you're doing, 70 in the morning and 70 in the night, you're really anchoring into that higher frequency within you, which of course is then supporting you as you progress into your daily life. I did want to come back to one thing you said, though, if that's okay,
Totally.
which you were saying, like, there's still these old parts of you, like your egoic self and all of that. And yeah, I'm the same, of course. We all are. Maybe there is like enlightened, I don't know, yogis on a mountaintop or something like that that are like doing the thing where they have no egoic mind. But, and this is coming from my download, it's from my channel. I'm not saying that this is the way, but so anyone listening can like run it through their own discernment. But I truly believe, and also this is influenced from the yogic philosophy as well, because that is a strong part of my original spiritual background. So I do want to just preface that. But, the ego does have purpose. The ego is here for a reason. It's not a byproduct. It's not this like reptilian agenda. The ego actually does have a purpose here on this earth. It's just that the ego has taken over it ourselves. So I truly believe, and I would even go as far as to say, I know from what I've received from my own psychic channel, my spiritual team, that even if we're sitting in the fifth dimensional frequency bandwidth and like, we're in a new age of Gaia, like the ego will still be present. It's just that the ego is the tool set of the mind to navigate a physical reality. Yeah, we need an ego to be able to process dangers and to process threats and to not run into a car and, to know that, hey, eating that thing is probably going to be quite damaging to my body and maybe I should not, or whatever it might be. It's just that as we spiritually work on ourselves, as we work on our self care, as we raise our vibration, It's just that the soul self, it starts to gradually take up more of the percentage of your mental space. And we gradually become more enlightened, so to speak, because we're taking up more soul. We're coming from soul. We're coming from soul. And that voice of the ego, I mean, this is from my perspective, like in my own experience, as someone with a strong ego, mind you, I definitely do. But it's like it gets less and less and less. It's like it has less power over me. It's like when it freaks out, when it starts to judge, because, my ego is a very judgy little bee that I love. But, as it's doing its thing, judging and freaking out and going, this is right and this is wrong, and I can accept that and I can't accept that, and I don't like this thing because of whatever, it's like it's running its own monologue below the presence of my soul self, which is just there. It's just chilling. It's just observing. It doesn't need to judge anything. It doesn't need to create a conclusion about something. I see it as very, very observational and just sort of present. Whereas I see the ego self as the thing that's trying to make meaning about everything and create a judgment of whether or not I like it or not. So, or if I agree with it or not. And the reason that felt important for me to share is because I don't want anyone listening ever to feel like they're doing it wrong if their ego is still leading the way, or if they're like in a position where they feel like they're at the mercy of their ego, or they're in a mentally really bogged down position, because it is a journey, and it's definitely not a linear journey. I do think if you have a spiritual practice that is consistent, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to slowly but surely raise your frequency, so like incrementally, but nevertheless, there is a bit of a linear trajectory. But within that, there's so many ups and downs, so many ups and downs. And sometimes I go backwards because my life blows up in my face, and then I'm freaking out, and then I have to remind myself, just like you said, you remind yourself, you catch yourself. Like I have to do that. I have to go, whoa, take a moment here. Let's step back and be like, what am I even doing? I'm just running based on my fear, based on my ego. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to take a sec. I'm going to check myself and then see if there's a more loving thing. Can I give you an example? I know I'm talking a lot.
Totally. Go ahead.
Thank you for giving me the space. I appreciate it. So I'm running an event so I live in Canberra. I don't know if you've heard of Canberra.
No, I have
It's the
not.
capital city of Australia. Most people think it's Sydney. It is not. It is Canberra. So Canberra is very much like a small Washington, DC. You could think of it as that. Population 450,000 people, roughly. So I live in Canberra. And at the moment, I'm about to move to the Sunshine Coast. But anyway, I'm running a big event. It's called the Big Gay Yoga Day, and it's in February, and it's it's this big queer yoga, breathwork, qigong, sound healing, multiple facilitators, and it's a big thing for me. It's an energetic step up. But as part of that, I have had lots of my posters that I've been putting up with different facilitators been torn down. I've had some neo-Nazi symbolism stuck all over my posters so people can't scan the QR codes. I've had people phoning me up going, oh my gosh, like I'm calling Crime Stoppers because, all of this vandalism is taking place on all of your attempts to just share an event of this nature with the community. And it's been challenging. And at first, my ego was like very damaged. It was very upset, like, oh, poor me. Like, oh my God, like, is this an attack on me? Is this an attack on my identity? Is this an attack on my queerness? Is this an attack on who I am? Like, is this like, can queer people still have to fight in Canberra, literally the most liberal city in Australia? Like, what is going on, And at first my ego felt very damaged and very fragile. And after I let myself have that processing and that grief and that disappointment and that sense of almost betrayal from the wider community of Canberra, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do what the martial artists do, and I'm going to alchemize this energy that has been used against me, and I'm going to turn it into positive momentum. And the only reason that I could have that thought was because I started to come from the perspective of my soul self that didn't care about being poor little me, that just was rolling with the energy that was presenting itself. And so as a result of that, I have leaned in on my my Canberra community even more. And I've shared with them openly, hey, this is happening. This pushback is coming through, and this is really challenging for us. And we're trying our best to support this event, but we need some help here. Like, this is going to be some grassroots stuff, like, and the amount of positive community response is like, even just talking about it, I'm still in shock, because I've had so many people say, send me an email, give me the post, like, let me put up posters for you in my area of town, and let me tell all my friends, and let me tell all my community business queer networks. And so all of this yucky, sticky hatred energy that those people that decided to put their hatred energy into tearing down posters and blocking it and all of that, that takes energy. They had to think about it. They had to do something with the energy that was burning inside them. I've been able to take that and quite literally alchemize it. Like, alchemize that same energetic potential into expansion and into something that has supported me and the facilitators of this event even more. And I feel even more passionate, more excited, and more supported than I did before this happened. And I'm using that as an example because I feel like I would not have done that a year ago, even though I've been on this path for a long time, because I would have been stuck in poor little me and, oh my God, I'm so fragile and I should just cancel the whole thing. But I am a year further along in my journey than I was last year. And I feel like I've made a lot of progress this year within myself, and just being able to float above the situation and look down from the clouds upon it and say, oh, okay, this is what's happening and this is how I can proceed. It's been liberating. It's been so incredible. And I know that it is my spiritual commitment and my own practice that has enabled that outcome to occur.
That's beautiful, man. That shows your growth right there. Like, that's pure growth. Proud of you. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
It's
thank
nothing
you.
other than, yeah, proud of you. Like, that's amazing that you took something like that and turned it into something beautiful and inspiring. Like, that's truly inspiring. Like, take notes, audience, take notes. Like, don't allow your ego to get in the way, and just be in the moment and just not let poor me or anger fill your blood. Instead, fill your heart and fill your soul with love and compassion. And the more you do that, the more you get back. So good on you.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you need to feel it, you do need to feel that sadness or that anger or that resentment. You need to feel that first, because that emotionally allows your body to process. It's that classic thing of when a goat gets chased by a tiger and it actually survives. It like shakes off its body, yeah, because it's processing the trauma that it's experienced. And so, yeah, we do need to feel, and this comes all from my somatic training and my embodiment training in the tantric work I do. We have to feel the truth within our emotional and physical self, because that part of us is inside the flesh suit that we are living inside of. Yeah, it has needs too. And so we have to honor that. And then once we've allowed that to process properly and not resisted it and pushed it away and tried to get rid of it and like turn that on the other cheek, and then it gets suppressed and then it comes up 10 years later, like, none of that. When we've actually given it the space to breathe and we've held it with the love that is inside of our hearts, then we are able to have that higher sense of perspective, that 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 higher sense of love and light and compassion and all of that. And I have to say, the time gets shorter and shorter and shorter with how long you need to process that. Because, back in the day, for me, it was like a lot of shadow work, a lot of somatic work, a lot of purging, a lot of feeling the emotions that's there. And these days, when I have these triggers come up or what have you, it takes far less time for me to process that, because there's less baggy, bulky, yucky energy stuck in my body. So, yeah, I think it's important to speak to that sort of like full process of being an embodied but nevertheless soul connected human.
Love it. So, what are your overall goals? What's the end goal for Andreas?
Oh, what an epic question. Yes, thank you. Thank you for asking. And also, if you're comfortable too, after I've answered, I'd love to know what yours are too, if you're feeling like you want to share.
Totally.
because I love that question. And it's a question we don't ask ourselves a lot, is it? And for me, the overall goal is, if we're talking about like on a personal level, well, I'll start with my collective goal, which is, collectively, I would love to see the majority of humans vibing out in a higher dimensional state. So yeah, I'm talking like fifth dimensional frequency where they feel connected to their soul. That's why I do everything that I do, has just been about what can I do in my own way to try and support the ascension of people's consciousness so that we feel better as a human species. And yeah, there's a personal buy-in to that, because if the environment and the world that I'm living in is higher vibe, then my life's going to feel better. And,
Love it.
maybe then we won't prioritize the same things as a collective that we do now, and it'll feel better for all of us and therefore me. And so my personal and professional goal is like, I just want to be able to do this like freely and in full time. I want to be able to guide and support other spiritual seekers, whether it's through tantric work to like really get into their sexual shame, their sexuality. There's so much bogged down stuff there that we often bypass within the spiritual realm, or whether it's going the other way, going into their psychic gifts, connecting them to their spirit guides, connecting them to their spiritual team. I just worked with this most amazing, beautiful woman. Her name is Lauren, and we were able to connect her to like one of her most ancient guides. We're talking like primordial, dragon-like, really, really ancient energy here. And not only has that been life-changing for her and so empowering and validating for her to have this connection established, but for me as well, as somebody that can support that journey. So that's my goal, to be able to speak on stages just like this one, or physical ones, or in somebody's little studio, helping them to be on their own journey of self-discovery and spiritual connection to their fullness, to their soul self.
I love it. That's very powerful.
Yeah. What about you? Tell me, Andrew, tell me.
Okay, well, my personal goal is to align people, just to stop fighting each other, because here we're so divided, and I'm tired of hearing about the news. All I hear about, and a lot of division, like even with my family, my friends, like there's just, they don't understand me, and they're stuck in that reality, and I'm stuck in a different reality. And so just like that part would be amazing to have them a part of this journey with me, but I know they have to find themselves and everything. So that is a big thing. And also bringing more awareness to men's mental health, because a lot of men don't speak their truth. They don't speak their voice because we're in a male dominant society. So if you have feelings or you have emotions, you're considered a coward, you're considered weak. So that would be another thing I would love to see. As for my business goal, I would just love to continue to do the podcast, become the life coach that I'm applying to be, continue with my quantum healing, and move somewhere tropical and warm.
Oh, that's amazing. I hear all of that, and my heart just takes all of that in and it shines it back out to you and says yes, yes, yes. And I put my energy into that vision for you as well. And I really agree with you, especially on the men's mental health piece. Like, I also work predominantly with men. Again, yes, in the queer space. I work with everyone in the psychic realm, but in the tantric realm, it's predominantly with queer men. And yeah, I see it every day. And, sometimes the assumption might be that LGBTQ are so like emotionally liberated and they're just like, doing their thing. But no, that's like, doesn't matter if you're gay or not. It doesn't matter if you identify purely as a man or not, or you're on that gender spectrum. But nevertheless, like, that sacred masculine, it needs healing, baby. It really does. So I really bow to that. I really, that work is really important to heal the sacred masculine, because, yeah, in a male dominated world, if the sacred masculine is not healed, oof, that's problematic.
Absolutely. So what advice can you offer the audience listening today?
Ooh, yeah. I didn't prepare anything, so I'm going to go into my soul, if you don't mind, and just take a moment. Well, this is like strong, strong. Okay, so this has actually come directly from my spirit guides. And I wasn't expecting that. Like I was just expecting to go into my heart and be like, oh, blah 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 blah. But no, they have a strong message, and the message that they want to give is that right now, especially like 2025, the year that we are in right now, every single human being that is listening to this, and it doesn't matter when you tune in, this message is going to be relevant to you. You are receiving intuitive nudges more than ever before. Your soul is more accessible than ever before, and it is sending you intuitive nudges. It is giving you those little feelings, whether it's feelings of questioning things or discerning things or feeling like you want to start to move in a different direction perhaps. And what my team is really asking everyone to do is to start to trust that more and more and more. Just be brave enough to trust and to start to follow those intuitive nudges, because they are here to guide you through these times of uncertainty. You can trust your inner self. You are, in fact, this whole spiritual journey is about connecting to the inner soul self, and you can always rely on that. You can always trust that. And yeah, my team are like going off. They're like, if I can say anything, it is that, because the outside world right now, that don't feel very stable, does it? And we used to rely on the outside world for that stability. We used to rely on our country. We used to rely on our neighborhoods. We used to rely on our neighbors. And that feels like that stuff's not as available anymore. And as we rewrite our collective story by each sharing our gifts, just by like we both have that goal too, so that we can come back to something that feels more loving and more connected. As we're in that bridge, like, yeah, that intuition and that inner nudge soul self is like absolutely there to guide you through the soupy chaos that is the external environment right now.
Love it. Well, this has been a wonderful interview, Andreas, and I'm so glad to have met you. And I wish you but nothing but continued success, my friend, and much love to you.
Yeah, likewise, sending you so much love. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning into this heartfelt conversation with Andreas on Beyond Transcendence with Andrew. I hope this episode gave you insight into the importance of trusting your intuition, prioritizing mental health, and finding growth through life's challenges. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to connect with me on social media or leave a review wherever you're listening. Remember, transformation begins within, and it's a journey we don't have to take alone. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep transcending. Much love to you all.